Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 79 of Generation GC, Jaded, by Mest, featuring Benji Madden from Mest's self-titled album released in 2003. My guest today is Brompton Jackson of Action Adventure. Once again, and as always, my name is Molly Hudelson. I'm your host, as well as the producer, creator, and editor of this podcast. As a heads up, this episode was recorded in May before the schedule shifted of the show, before the schedule shifted to every other week, so just keep that in mind as you hear the outro at the end. And this one is a bonus episode, so it's something that is not a Good Charlotte studio album track. Last time, on our last regular episode, we talked about counting the days from Cardiology. In 2 weeks, on our next regular episode, we'll be talking about a song from Youth Authority. Chicago's Action Adventure is the pop-punk band you didn't know you needed. The dynamic five-piece are all multi-instrumentalists who have been playing together for nearly a decade. Comprised solely of Black and Indigenous people of color, their mission is to create #PopPunkInColor and ensure that pop-punk is a genre where everyone is represented on and off stage. Good Charlotte has a lot of songs about feeling like an outsider and feeling like you don't fit in. So no matter your background or your own life experiences, I really think that if you're a GC fan, you're going to relate to Action Adventure's drive for representation and inclusion, and I think you're going to love this conversation with Brompton. Action Adventure has gotten attention from alt-scene tastemakers like Alternative Press and Kerrang. They have nearly 23,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and they even secured a spot at the final Vans Warped Tour in 2018. Their song Barricades blew up on TikTok last year with over 1 million views in just a few weeks, and shortly after that, they signed to Pure Noise Records. Earlier this year, Action Adventure released the EP Pulling Focus, and I really enjoyed talking to Brompton about the EP and about signing to Pure Noise, so I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. As a reminder, I love having guests from all around the world and from all different backgrounds on Generation GC. If English isn't your first language, that's okay. As long as you're comfortable holding a conversation in English, you're good to go. And different backgrounds doesn't just mean different locations or ethnicity. It means ensuring a varied gender and sexuality representation, representing fans of different ages, fans with their own unique life experiences of any sort. So if you're thinking you want to come on the show and tell me about your own story and your own connection to Good Charlotte, hit me up. I also want to continue mentioning blacklivesmatters.card.co, antisemitism.card.co, and anti-asianviolenceresources.card.co. In some ways, these topics have fallen out of the mainstream news cycle, but I think it's really important to continue talking about them, to continue educating ourselves on racism and anti-Semitism. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? There's 2 things you can do. Number 1, support the show on Anchor. Go to anchor.fm/GenerationGCPod and click support. And all of that money goes right back into making the show the best that it can be. It helps me print and ship the stickers. It also helps me do things like buy new headphones, buy a laptop riser, buy notebooks, because sometimes I take notes on pen and paper. Number 2, you can make a charitable donation, and Brompton has suggested that you make a donation to NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association. You can go to nivassoc.org to make a donation. I just want to reiterate how great of a suggestion I think this is. Giving back to your local music scene, I mean, it's always something I'm going to advocate for. Heck, Good Charlotte was a local band once upon a time, right? And especially right now, I mean, so many independent venues had to shut down due to the pandemic, and the ones that are still around need your help now more than ever. A lot of the shows that I go to, they're Access or Live Nation venues, and that's fine and great, but the local venues, the independent venues, they really could use your help. So you're going to take a screenshot of either your support of the show on Anchor or your charitable donation, and you're going to send that to me along with your mailing address. You can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at GenerationGCPod, POD, or send me an email, generationgcpod@gmail.com, and I will send you stickers. Well, that's about it for the intro. Thank you for tuning in, and now on to episode 79.
So, Jaded is track 3 on Mest's self-titled album from 2003, released on Maverick Records. This is not our first time talking about Mest on the show. We talked about The Innocent by Goldfinger featuring Good Charlotte and Mest a few months ago, but I didn't really dive into Mest on that one because I wanted to save it for when I eventually talked about Jaded. And Benji Madden features on this track. He sings like one of the final choruses. Track 2 on this album is Rooftops. Track 4 is Night Alone. I don't have chart stats for Jaded. It was a single, so it was released to radio July 2003, kind of just after the album came out, Vans on Warped Tour. But the album itself peaked at number 64 on the Billboard 200. There is a music video. The song was written by Tony Lovato, John Feldman, and Benji Madden. And Setlist.fm has it ranked number 6 of Mest's most played songs. They say 42 times played, but it kind of seems like it's played at pretty much every show. So I think Setlist.fm is missing a lot of Mest set lists.
I feel like it's one of their biggest.
Yeah, I feel like this is a song. So I think the number 6 ranking, I feel like, is more reliable than 42 times played. That's kind of how, because then, you know, you figure some shows are missing, but the popular songs are the popular songs. And there's a lot to dive into with the song and Mest's relationship with GC. But Brompton, I really want to help our listeners get to know you and Action Adventure. Sure. So first thing I'd like to ask everyone is, I guess we'll do this as a double for this one, but when did you first hear Good Charlotte, and what were your first thoughts on them? And when did you first hear Mest, and what were your first thoughts on them?
Oh, man. So I probably heard Good Charlotte in like 2001 or 2002. And I mean, I was always just kind of like, man, this is awesome. I really like this. And, you know, right after I heard them, I think I saw like maybe like a month or two later, they dropped the video for Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And obviously, like, that's where they blew up. And I was like, oh, I know this band. This is crazy. And I mean, I was like young. I was like really young. I was 11 or 12 when that came out. So, yeah, they were definitely one of like the first pop punk bands or punk bands that I like got like super into. And then like shortly after that, like one of my friends in like 6th or 7th grade like showed me Mest. I remember I heard like Cadillac first. And
that'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, this is awesome. This is so cool. And then they're like, Mest is from here. They're from Chicago. So yeah, that was like a whole nother cool thing. Like I've seen them play like small shows. I've seen them play like bigger shows and stuff. So that was really cool.
Amazing. So, okay, so you say you've seen Mest live. Have you ever seen Good Charlotte live?
Yes, I've seen Good Charlotte probably like 5 or 6 times live.
Amazing.
Back when they like toured a lot, and like pretty much like basically when I was in like middle school. So I'm gonna say like between like 2002 and like 2001, like 2004.
Okay.
I think I saw them on like most national tours.
Yeah. They were touring a lot during that time. Yeah.
And like I've seen them a couple times like since then, like when they played like higher up slots on festivals and stuff like that. My girlfriend is like super into Good Charlotte.
Amazing.
I always joke like she can never meet them because then she's gonna leave me for a bit. But yeah, so like, you know, we've seen them a bunch of times. One time I remember I saw Good Charlotte and Mest together.
Amazing.
With Something Corporate, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was awesome. That was like that was a great tour, great show. That one like sticks out for some reason, like it really does.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, I never saw Something Corporate, but I did see Andrew McMahon 3 years ago, I think. So I don't have like a mental picture of a Something Corporate show. So I just think of like an Andrew McMahon show, and he's like playing the piano and wearing like a Mr. Rogers cardigan. And I'm like, that was good. But I imagine Something Corporate was a little bit of a different vibe than that.
I mean, it was still definitely a little more chill than Mest and Good Charlotte. And it was interesting because it was like Mest was like, and then Something Corporate was like, okay, this is tight. Because I love Something Corporate, but it was, you know, it was more chill. And then Good Charlotte comes out and it's like all this production, like all the, you know, they're headlining, and it was like a huge screen. So it was definitely like a roller coaster of the roller coaster type vibe with the sets, but it was cool.
Amazing. Well, most importantly, Action Adventure announced this spring, I think, that you signed to Pure Noise Records. So what made Pure Noise feel like the right home?
Honestly, Pure Noise is the label that we've always kind of strived to be on. None of this happened the way that we thought it would, I guess, but it's awesome that we're here now. We kind of always have been super into other Pure Noise artists, and the whole roster is just really like well-rounded, kind of eclectic. And you know, the bands are just on the label are consistently putting out like awesome music. Some of our favorite bands are on Pure Noise. Like 4 Year Strong is one of our favorite bands.
There you go.
As a band, and you know,
I can hear that. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
and yeah, so that, you know, they're on Pure Noise, so that was big. Story So Far, that's another, you know, big one. I love, like, personally, like, I also listen to like a lot of like metalcore and hardcore. So like Counterparts and Knock Loose are also on Pure Noise. So like that's crazy.
I also I hear like not so much musically, but like lyrically, I am feeling Handguns a little bit, which is also a Pure Noise
I
fan.
can see that. I feel like Handguns is a band that we all love dearly, and they didn't get as big as they deserve to, and it always bums us out. But our vocalist Blake has played shows with Handguns in the past in his other band, like in his old band. Also another band that's on there that we all love is Senses Fail. Me, Oren, and Adrian started out playing music like 16 years ago together as a Senses Fail cover band.
Oh,
so like
amazing.
It's just kind of coming around full circle. So that's wild.
That.
And then, you know, we also have other influences like Fall Out Boy and other.
Chicago, yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah. Well, so you put out this EP, Pulling Focus, in April, but and we'll circle back to the EP in a second, but Barricades went viral close to like a year ago, I want to say.
It was in October, actually. Yeah, it was in October.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, end of last year. And that was nuts. I just kind of put it up on TikTok. I'd never used TikTok before that. Our friend, who's a photographer, Chris, he was like, dude, this video is really good. You should put this up on TikTok. And I was like, I don't know, man. TikTok, it's for the dancing, and like, you know, it doesn't really seem to make sense. He's like, no, there's a whole bunch of other stuff on TikTok. This is going to do really well. And it's convenient because it's under a minute, so it fit in like
so you know,
you can watch the whole thing. So that was great. So he was really kind of pushing me to put it on. I was like, fine. Downloaded the app for the first time just to post this video. Made the band account just to post this video. Posted it. And I just kind of walked away. I didn't even tell the guys that I did it. And then like a few hours later, my girlfriend was like, hey, I didn't know you guys put the video on TikTok. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, Chris said whatever. And then she was like, have you like been seeing, have you like checked on it? And I was like, no. And she was like, you should like go check on it. Like look at the play count. And before I put the video on TikTok, we had all discussed like, it would be cool to get like 2,500 to 3,000 YouTube views.
Right.
For like that whole weekend. We were like, we'll be happy with that. That's cool. Whatever. So then I'm trying to figure out how to like use this app for the first time. It was ridiculous. I'm looking at it. She like explains like how to work it and everything.
Yeah.
I see the play count. It's at like 28,000 plays. I'm like, this is nuts. There's no way in like 4 hours. So then I'm like frantically texting everybody in like our group message. I'm like, guys, check this out. This is what happened. This is what I did. This is what happened. I don't believe this. By the time everybody started responding, it had already gone up like 5,000 plays. We were at like 33,000.
Incredible.
And then it just kind of like snowballed from there. Like when we went to sleep, I think it was at like 150K. When I woke up the next day, it was like 287 or something like that. And yeah, by the end of the weekend, it was at like just under 500,000. And then like a week and a half later, it hit 1 million. And it was just nuts. We had no idea that was going to happen at all.
I have to give a shout out, by the way, to a previous guest on the podcast, Tiffany Cobb. They were on episode 57 talking about Leech. And when I asked them for just recommendations for the playlist, they told me to put Barricades on the playlist. And I was like, absolutely. Like, I know that song. I know that video. And I told Tiffany I'd give him a shout out. So Tiffany, thank you for recommending it. And it was not too long after that I first got in contact with Nina about this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany's great. They were awesome. I want to talk about, I guess, what you're doing with Barricades. You have this video where you're all holding up signs. And I was so glad, like just before, as I'm like pulling all my stuff up, I see on your YouTube this video series, Pop Punk in Color, where you're all kind of explaining the signs. What, I mean, I guess like what is behind that phrase? Like, why did that feel important to talk about?
So we all kind of grew up in the pop punk scene, and being a band comprised solely of people of color, which was an accident, by the way. We did not plan that at all. It just kind of happened. All the pieces just fell into place, and none of us happened to be white. And it honestly, like we were like, this is kind of strange, but whatever. So
well, it's only strange because there's not that many like fully non-white bands in the pop punk scene. Yeah.
Right. And it shouldn't be strange, and it shouldn't have felt strange to us. And I mean, obviously now, it's whatever. We are who we are. We love it, and it's great. But we felt like it was really important to try and just give some of our life experiences that we've dealt with in the scene. Being a band comprised solely of POCs, and also like all the things on the signs that we held up are things that have been said multiple times to us. Yeah. Like on tour or, at shows. So we just kind of felt like we should highlight these things that happen that kind of go unspoken. I will say most of the time the things that are said, like at least the things we held up on the signs, like they're not necessarily coming from like a place of malice. They're not really trying to be malicious or I would say they're more of like a microaggression. Yeah. It's just kind of like there's no education on it. Like you definitely should not be saying those things to people. Like you shouldn't say that. But I guess people don't really know that you shouldn't say that. Yeah. And so we just kind of wanted to, be like, hey, these are things that, were said to us. This scene is really dominated by Caucasian people or like white presenting people. So we just kind of really wanted to say like, we were kids in the pop punk scene. If we were there, there's got to be other people, listeners, who are other people of color who don't have anyone to kind of relate to on the stage, because that was something, the representation was never really there when we were growing up. And so, we thought that it was really important just to kind of be like, hey, it's okay. You like the music, you like the music. You want to be here, they need to make a place for you. Like the scene needs to be inclusive. That's just it. There's no excuses at this point. And that's kind of where it came from. And the whole little mini docuseries was just about just kind of quickly, explaining the signs, and, just being like, you don't hate white people or anything. We're just kind of explaining like these are our life experiences, and this is kind of, how it's ended up happening. Yeah.
I feel like, especially in a music scene, that it's like so many people turn to this. Like, I'll speak from my personal experience. I went to shows in college. I would like go to shows if I was having a bad day. I felt at home, like everything felt okay. You know, you're sad, you put on music. I feel like especially in a scene like this, it's so important for everyone to feel welcomed and for everyone to feel represented, you know, when they look at who's on stage.
Right, no, definitely.
Have you gotten like a lot of messages from people that have like connected to what you said?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time going through the TikTok comments on the Barricades video.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were like, wow, I wish that I had a band like this when I was growing up in high school.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, this is so great. I've never really seen anyone play this type of music that looks like me, stuff like that. And it was really humbling, and really, it was just awesome to see all of those comments, like thousands of comments.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, people sharing similar experiences. Some people would share stories, or, you know, about how they didn't really feel comfortable and, you know, seeing us up there and doing this, and it, you know, it kind of changed their outlook. And, you know, that was the whole point. It's not really about us per se. It's about like the whole scene in general, and like the whole, like, there needs to be like a movement. Like, we need to normalize people of color.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, playing and enjoying music other than, you know, pop and rap and hip hop and R&B.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I want to just change topics a little bit. A couple more questions before we go into the song.
Sure.
You have so many great music videos. They all have, you know, you have Barricades, Poser, Semi-Prologue, Tuck Everlasting. I'm sure there's others, but they all have, you know, such strong like stories and concepts, but they're all so like different. Who in the band is like kind of the creative mastermind?
So we kind of all like pitch ideas and talk about video ideas. Barricades, the idea for Barricades was Blake's, because he just, I think, he was like, man, I think it would be really cool to talk about this. You know, this is what the song is about. Let's do the video. And we were like, yeah, this is awesome. So we shot that video. The video for Poser, that video has actually been in the works for like 2.5 years.
Wow.
So we shot it last August, or it actually took a couple months to shoot because of all the different locations and stuff. But we shot it like over a course of a few days between August and October of 2020. Yeah, of last year. So we did that, but we originally, the song has been recorded since the end of 2018.
Oh,
and
wow.
we were trying to figure out the logistics of the video pretty much from like all of 2019. Took like 1.5 years to figure that out. Because we actually shot all that before we had like label support. So that was like completely like DIY. And we couldn't pull it off with like a bunch of help from like our friends and other promoters in the scene and just people that we know. And that is actually like a condensed version of what the video was going to be. Originally, it wasn't just going to be a rap video. It was going to be, we were going to shoot the video like 5 times in different genres. But then it just proved to be like, it's a lot. Like, it would literally be like weeks of shooting. Yeah. So we're like, let's just do a rap video. That's awesome. That was kind of like a really collaborative thing. We all had like different ideas. We brought them to the table. Our friend Jovan was the director. He's awesome, and we just brought him the ideas, and we were like, dude, this is just every idea that we have. Can we make this work? And he was like, this is going to be great. And you know, we just kind of ironed it out, and we did it. Yeah. And then the video for Semi was another collaborative process. It was pretty much me, Jovan, and then actually I'm in another band, and my other band's drummer. We just kind of like will pitch random video ideas to each other all the time. And we were just talking about this, and I was like, dude, this would be really cool for Semi-Prologue. And he was like, oh, okay, cool, let's do it. And we wrote it out, sent it to JB. JB was like, yes, this is great, let's do it. And then we did it. And then Tuck was pretty much just a performance video that we were just kind of like, we just want a really cool performance video, just us playing, because that's like what, you know, the song is about. It's just about being in a band pretty much and like growing up. So we were just kind of like, let's just do that.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, last question I want to ask before we go into a deep dive on Jaded is, how has Good Charlotte influenced you as a musician?
Oh man, I like I said, I've been listening to Good Charlotte since I was like 11, 12. And like around then is like when I started playing guitar. So like obviously I was like learning how to play Good Charlotte songs and like, you know, just covering Good Charlotte and Mest and stuff. And I mean, honestly, like they're like things that they do that I'm sure that I subconsciously still put into my music today, just because that's like what I grew up learning. And that's just kind of like the style that I've developed over, you know, over the past 15, 16, 17 years, however long that was. But yeah, I mean, definitely they're like back in like the golden age of pop punk, you know, with the air quotes. They were like a huge band back then. I mean, they're still huge, but like they were like MTV, like constantly being played on MTV, huge. Them, like Newfound Glory, I mean, honestly, like Something Corporate, Dashboard Confessional, like Taking Dead. So like all these bands of that era, that's like my whole childhood right there. That was like the music that I listened to. So they were like a huge influence just on the music that I listen to now and the way that I play music and everything.
Yeah, amazing. I love that, and I think that is definitely something that a lot of guests on this show, especially our musician guests, can relate to.
They just put out such like good records for so long. It was just kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I'm pretty sure I know how to play a couple of their records cover to cover. I don't know if I could do it like just picking up a guitar right now, but like within a couple of days, I'm sure I could figure it out. Just do it. Yeah.
I have a fond memory in college, like going over to a friend's house who like lived off campus, and he had guitars, like, 'cause his band would rehearse in the basement, whatever, and somehow figuring out, and I barely play guitar, and somehow we collectively played through most of The Young and the Hopeless, and it was awesome.
It's just like really like well written. Like it's nothing like necessarily groundbreaking in terms of like guitar work, but it's like I just think it's really well written, especially for the time. You know, and it still holds up. Like I still will go back and listen to that record just cover to cover, and I mean it's just awesome.
Yeah. Well, let's get into Jaded. So Nina Swin had connected us this spring, and she said that, hey, Brompton from Action Adventure wants to talk about Jaded by Mest. So why did you want to talk about this song in particular?
So this song was always really interesting to me because like at this time, this was like one of the only songs that Mest had that was like this. Yeah. It was really like ballady. It was really cool. And then obviously like Benji's on the track, so like that's the connection. But I just think Mest is a really underrated band, and they are seldom talked about in terms of like that era. Yeah. And like they were like it's almost like they hit the glass ceiling. They almost broke into that huge mainstream. Like obviously even now, like they still tour and they, you know, still play shows and stuff.
But they don't play like massive venues and sell them out. Like
they play like, when was the last time I saw them? I think I did see Mest in like 2012 at like House of Blues, which was pretty cool. So I mean they headlined that. I mean I think it was only here, so that's a little different.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, you know, they still are probably playing like 800 cap venues.
Okay, that's bigger than I was thinking.
I think they played Warped Tour, like the final Warped Tour in like 2018. They played the Chicago date. Yeah. They played the Chicago date, and the crowd was huge. Yeah. It was awesome. So I mean, like, I know those are also like Chicago centric.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, you know, they do still, you know, get out and do it. And I think Tony lives in like Arizona now. So
he lives in LA. I'm pretty sure.
Is it LA?
Yeah.
Because I know that one of my this dude that I know who's in Assuming We Survive is also Mest.
Okay.
I think he lives with Tony. That's
I like what you said, though, that this is kind of one of the only songs they had at this time that was like this. And we'll, get into this more as we continue our discussion. But, like, I feel like this was Mest's first album that was, like, sentimental and nostalgic, kind of.
It was very introspective. I feel like they really, like, dug deep.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is what's going on with me right now. This is, like, this is what's up. And I definitely think that this song in particular is probably one of the heaviest emotionally, not heavy like, oh, it's heavy, but like heavy like emotionally at the time, like on the record. And it always just kind of stood out.
Yeah. Well, what's funny to me is like, right, like at the time this was the heaviest, and then they would follow this up with Photographs, which is like, what was the one song, Last Kiss, where he's like, stare at you as I slit my wrists, and as we start our last kiss. Dark. Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know, I kind of want to save some. I have some thoughts that I am going to save for when we talk about the video. But I just want to know, do you have any lyrics from this that were like misheard lyrics?
I don't think I had any misheard lyrics from the song, specifically because I had a physical like CD. Well, obviously it's like 2003, so like I had a CD, right? And like they had all the lyrics in the booklet because people still actually like cared about that and read booklets.
Oh, I love the booklets.
I know, me too. So yeah, I don't really think I don't think I had any misread lyrics.
Yeah. And then favorite line. What's your favorite line from this song?
Ooh, I think it's the second verse. Like the second verse as a whole. Because it's just very like where he's like, remembering all our memories and times like these when I miss you most. Like remembering when we were so close.
Yeah.
And
that's
it's just like
that's deep.
It's pretty sad, man. It's just kind of like, I want to know like what happened.
Right.
Like, the way that I've always kind of interpreted it is that, like the song from the protagonist, I guess, of the song, right, from their perspective, they've ruined some sort of relationship. Yeah. And whether it's a platonic relationship or a romantic relationship, I enjoy the fact that this is actually very vague. So that's pretty cool. But I think that one thing that's really cool about it is that it's like they are recognizing that they were the ones that ruined this relationship and that they ruined it by being bitter and jaded. And that they obviously need to, it's like really just super introspective and like it's super self-aware. I feel
it's very self-aware.
Yeah.
And it was wasn't it like the previous album that they had like Cadillac?
Yeah, Cadillac and like Fucked Kid.
Yeah, Fucked Kid. Yeah. But yeah, that's a really good point about the self-awareness. Like, I mean, prior to this, they were just so like silly, and I feel like this song, the words that come to mind for me is like bittersweet nostalgia, right? Like you've realized you've grown up and changed and you're kind of out of touch, and realizing maybe you've changed in ways that have hurt other people. I always kind of got the vibe this was more about like friends or like friendships versus a romantic
I can see that for
partner.
Sure.
I don't know. I kind of always got the vibe it was more like this, like the people he's talking about, not one person so much as like the hometown friends, and like now he's in a band and he's touring, and he's changed because he's a rock star or whatever.
Can see that.
What would you say is the emotion of this song? Like the primary emotion?
I feel like it's just regret.
Yeah.
I feel like it's regret. I don't think it's like anger. I don't necessarily get that at this moment Tony was bitter.
Mm.
I more so get like just like an overwhelming sense of like regret.
Yeah, even though he
like,
says,
also like nostalgia.
I'll never regret these years. Yeah. Yeah. I think regret is actually a good point there, because clearly he wouldn't feel the way he does in this song if he didn't regret something. Maybe regret how he acted at a certain point, and just...
Yeah, I think it could also be like a kind of like the way that I've always looked at it was obviously because he says like, you know, I'll never regret these years, and like not sorry, I'll never regret these years.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think, I think that that's speaking about the years in the past.
Okay. Like the years, the good times together?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I feel like this could, you know, be in the moment that this was written. I feel like it's, you know, super self-reflective and introspective, and it's like, well, damn, you know, I've done something wrong. I'm glad that we had, you know, all those good times. I'll never regret all those good times that we had. And I guess you could also take it like, I'll never regret, even though like they might have regrets about what's going on right now. It could just be a situation where it's like, you know, this is where my life has led me. And, you know, I can't change the fact that, you know, however it is, I'm not going to regret that, but I'm going to, you know, move forward and grow from it. It seems like regardless of whether or not they're regretting the moment right now, there's like to me at least, a clear acknowledgement that something has gone awry.
Yeah. And
that they need to move forward and grow and try and fix, if possible, the things, or at least accept things that have happened. Yeah. That's kind of where I think it's at.
Yeah, I like that. I was listening to this, like just before we got on and listening to the album earlier today, I was kind of like, yes, I know that like Mest is a quote unquote pop punk band, but especially like the intro and the verses could be like radio adult contemporary, like soft rock.
I almost feel like this song was purposely written in that way as well.
Yeah.
Like it was very like to get it like super accessible.
Yeah.
It's one of their most accessible songs. Still to this day, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk about some of the backstory about this song, but also kind of the Good Charlotte and Mest friendship in general. And we're starting off, I think, pretty good. So, you know, listeners, like if you were a GC fan in the early 2000s, like you probably know that Tony Lovato and the twins at least were very close. I found this great little bit from Rolling Stone's story, The Polite Punks, which I've referenced this story multiple times before. It's just such a great story. Here we go. The tour of Waldorf ends at Lito's Pizza Parlor, another old hangout. As we eat what turns out to be a free meal, courtesy of the owner, a Good Charlotte fan, the band drinks Coke and talks about old friends and favorite rappers, especially Jay-Z and Master P. When the subject turns to partying, they speak with quiet awe of their friend Tony Lovato, the singer for the pop-punk band Mest. One night, everyone's on tour and everyone's drinking, Benji says. And everyone threw up in this pitcher, pissed in it, put cigarette butts in it, spit in it, anything possible. Tony drank it. And he couldn't sing for 3 days because of the stomach acids from the vomit. Compared with this kind of debauchery, Good Charlotte party like soccer moms.
It's such I've definitely read that story before.
Yeah, it's very good.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
I just like I can't even think about thinking about like being on tour myself. I could never.
I saw Mest, the first time I saw them was their farewell tour in 2006, which I then saw them again like 2.5 years later on their, no longer broken up tour. Yeah. But I saw them the farewell tour in 2006. My dad, he dropped us off and he ended up getting a ticket and coming in. But Tony was like, he had his shirt off. It was February, but we're inside, so he has his shirt off. And he's talking about like partying and drinking and everything. But he had like a 6-pack. And I remember on the car ride home, my dad was like, that guy definitely does not party as much as he says he does if he looks like that. Like he was buff, at least in 2006.
Maybe like
2003 was different.
Yeah, maybe it was different before.
Yeah, when this Rolling Stone story came out. Yeah, so Mest and Good Charlotte, as you said, you went to the show. They went on tour together, 2003. MTV News, this was just a sweet moment in the MTV News article talking about the 2 legs of the tour. And they said the first one will be with Buddy's Mest, whose singer, Tony Lovato, is Benji Madden's best friend. And Orange County's Something Corporate. There was another MTV News article talking about the song. Tony Lovato was 22 when this song came out.
Yeah, that's wild.
Which, like, how much life have you lived that you write this song at 22, right?
I feel like he'd been through it.
Right. He definitely had.
And it's nuts to think that he was 22 when this record came out.
Yeah.
Especially, like, you could see, like, in Mo Money, Mo 40s and in Wasting Time and Destination Unknown, like, you can hear his age.
Yes.
It's very reflected in all, like, the lyrics and everything. Destination Unknown, not as much as the first 2 records, but still, it's pretty apparent.
Yeah.
By the time the self-titled record came out, like, it was like they were a completely different band. They had just were like laser focused on their sound at that point, and everything was super cohesive, but it still blatantly sounded like Mest, And so, like, that was crazy. So yeah, the fact that you bring up that he was 22 is nuts. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, he's talking about in this article that he always hung out with older kids. He was going to parties when he was 12, and that just made him grow up a lot quicker. And he says about this song, it's about me growing up and missing my friends back when I was younger and didn't have to do this every day. Back when the band was unsigned and we were just hanging out in the neighborhood every day. Yeah, they say Lovato's best friend, Good Charlotte's Benji Madden, assisted with the music, sings backup and appears in the video. The band, they became friends when the Madden brothers became fans of Mest's 2000 major label debut, Wasting Time, and John Feldman ultimately introduced them.
What a time to be in the scene.
I do think about, though, like, I'm 29, right? I'll be nearly 30 by the time this comes out. At 29, I can say, wow, what kind of life have you lived that you wrote this song at 22? You were 22. But when I was 22, I was, like, fresh out of college, and I probably had it in me to write, if I were a songwriter, I probably would have had it in me to write, like, something like this, because I was 22. Tony appeared in Good Charlotte's Like It's Her Birthday video in 2010, I think that was. And unfortunately, though, it seems like Tony and the twins are no longer in touch. There was an article on scenezine.com where they asked about it. He says, he's not in touch, hasn't talked to them in a while. Chris Dowdy of the Wasting Time podcast. Listeners, Chris was on the show talking about There She Goes last fall. And he had Mest on the show, and Chris had asked, Tony if he was still in touch with the twins, and he said he's not in touch with them.
Well, shit changes when you own a tiger and you're married to Cameron Diaz. That's a
Benji owns a tiger?
Yeah. That's a whole different social strata. So I don't know what happened there, but like,
yeah, I have no idea.
I'm not necessarily 100% surprised. That's unfortunate.
It's kind of makes this song almost, I mean, I have no idea no clue at all, like what kind of terms are on or whatever, or like why they're not friends anymore. But it kind of makes this particular song extra bittersweet then.
It's almost ironic.
Yeah, right. Like this is a song that's in some way, I think, about losing touch with people, right? And
it's
changing.
Definitely, it's like weird foreshadowing. Like that they would be on this song together, and that they would fall out, have some sort of falling out.
Yeah, fall out, lose touch. I mean, yeah. I wonder, and I have no idea, right? I wonder if like being friends with the Good Charlotte guys kind of influenced what Mest did musically. Because like they started getting serious, making like more serious records, emotional records. Like Good Charlotte puts out Chronicles in 2004, and then they put a record about death, essentially Photographs, in 2005.
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
I wonder if it was like Good Charlotte influencing them, or if it was just that as a group of friends they were just going through a lot of
the same things. Yeah. Right. That's a good point. Friends. I mean, and that's like often why you're friends and how friends stay close. You are dealing with the same shit at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I never really made that correlation between those two records. That makes a lot of sense now I think about it.
Yeah.
Knowing the songs on those two records.
I didn't think about that till like just now, but
yeah, it definitely makes sense. I can see. Yeah. I mean, I can see it.
I've had people have asked me like, oh, like I'll say y'all like tweet out like who do you guys want to hear on the show, or I'll talk to people and a couple people have said, oh, I want to hear Tony Lovato, have him come on. And
that sounds awesome.
Would love to, although it sounds like, probably that probably wouldn't happen.
Might be a sore subject.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows the terms? But if he were open to it at any point, like would love to, obviously. Well, Brompton, do you have any like memories or stories that you want to share about Jaded?
I mean, honestly, like I just remember like legit just sitting in my room and just blasting this record and just thinking like, man, this is so cool. Like I want to play this type of music. Like I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like I want to, do this as a career. Obviously, little did I know this is where I would be, however many years later. So that's really cool. Now that I'm actually saying it out loud, that's wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like, I guess I could go back to that like Mest Good Charlotte tour, and I like vividly remember.
Did Benji sing this song with them?
He did, and I remember like it was like so cool because like obviously like Mest opened. Well, actually there was somebody else, and then Mest opened, and then something corporate, and then Good Charlotte, and so like they played Jaded, and like Benji walked out and like sang his part and sang the rest of the song with them and stuff. And like, so that was super cool. And I think that was like one of the first times I ever saw like a feature artist actually perform the song with like the main artist. And like, so that was pretty cool. And that kind of stuck with me. And that show was just so good. That show was so great. My mom like took me and a couple of my friends to that show, and somehow she like met Tony Lovato's mom. Because they were just like two moms at this show.
Right. She's
so,
mom of some fans, Tony's mom is the mom of the guy on stage, you know?
Right. So then, like, Tony's mom, like, texted Tony and, like, just had us, like, wait there. And she was like, oh, I met this cool lady. And, like, her son's, like, a fan. And, like, he'd love to meet you. And then, like, he came out and, like, he hung out with us for, like, 25, pretty much the entire Something Corporate set. Yeah, that was
so
really
sweet.
That was pretty cool. That was badass.
Adorable.
So that was another good memory of that. And I mean, like, now it's funny because I appreciate it more now, thinking about all the times that, like, after I played that, you know, I was, like, tired.
You're, like, tired, yeah.
Right. But, like, yeah, so that was, I get it, you know, if somebody wants to, like, meet you, or, like, if I gotta go sell merch at, like, our merch table or whatever, like, I totally get it. It's, like, part of it. But, like, you know, it's just, like, I appreciate that he did that. So that was pretty cool. That was sweet.
I think actually, now that I think of it, both times I've seen Mest was with my dad. So I mentioned that one show, that first show he came to, but when I think specifically of this song, this is one of a very small number of songs that at one point I could sort of play on guitar. And I played it. I definitely pulled it out at, you know, one or two open mics, either at, like, summer camp or my high school, or there was, like, a coffee shop in town I went to once or twice. And I don't think there's any recordings of it, which is probably a good thing, because it definitely wasn't very good. It was like this and The Adventure by Angels and Airwaves and Seasons by Good Charlotte would be my like open mic songs. Yeah. Well, I like talking about, like, other songs in an artist catalog it kind of relates to. I feel like with Good Charlotte, when I think about the emotion of nostalgia, like, I think of Youth Authority, like, pretty much that whole album. With Mest, I don't know, like, Chance of a Lifetime has the kind of, I guess, sentimentality of this song, but it's not as, like, bitter and regretful.
Yeah. I guess maybe Chelsea.
Yeah, maybe Chelsea. I put Drawing Board down just because that's a song that's also, like, kind of reflecting on the past a bit.
Oddly enough, I draw a weird parallel to this, and then the first single that came out from their last, like, most recent record.
Okay.
Was it Upside Down? That single, because it's like really just kind of like, what the fuck is going on in the world? That's like that's what the whole song is about, and it's just kind of like losing your bearings. And I kind of also get that from Jaded, like, trying to, you know, figure all that out. So I could see that. I guess I could see Kiss Me, Kill Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much any of their really sad songs.
Yeah. I went back, like, I listened to, because, like, I'd listened to Jaded and Chelsea and Drawing Board, but I went back and, like, listened to this record and Photographs for the first time in, like, years. Mm-hmm. And I just, like, I could not get past, like, how dark Photographs is. Like violently dark. Like, very intense. But it's a great record, like, but I want to talk about the music video for Jaded. So there was an MTV News article about it, again, very cool. Shot by director Steven Murashige, who had also done videos for Rage Against the Machine and Incubus, and basically it's just a house party. And a lot of it apparently is inspired by real life events. And I have to read this quote from Tony. "We've done this countless times, where somebody passes out completely wasted and we get them completely nude, so they're just hanging out nude at a party. We have the gnarliest pictures of dudes hanging around naked."
I definitely feel like that's a good early 2000s.
Right.
Like, that's just what it was.
But, like, I feel like that just, not that it would not ever happen in 2021, but you would like get some pushback, like
You definitely get some flack. Yeah.
Some flack, yeah, for you know, taking people's clothes off in 2021. Which, frankly, as you should, like.
No, it makes sense. It was just it was like different back then. For some reason, it was more acceptable. I guess.
Yeah.
Didn't. I don't know.
I mean, it was well before there was any kind of quote unquote Me Too movement.
Right.
Doesn't mean stuff wasn't happening, but so
right.
I just.
I mean, like you said, like it doesn't make it okay, but like I understand.
Oh, in the time
how it happened.
Yeah, that's the humor. In the time, that was the humor. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Benji is in the video. Yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts on the video?
I always really liked the video. For some reason, I kind of always thought of the video as like a sequel to the Cadillac video.
Okay.
Like I always thought like maybe in Cadillac they were like driving to this party and like hanging out, and then like they go to this party, and then like it's because like you know how the video is like kind of it's just a house party.
Yeah.
And then like some of it is like the aftermath of it. But yeah, I don't know. I always, for some reason, and it's probably completely off base, but like I just always kind of drew a parallel between those two. I don't know why, but I don't know. But I do love the video. I specifically like how it's shot and how it's colored because it's really dark a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's really good use of shadows, and so like it really kind of like evokes the feeling of the song. Like I think it really pairs really well with the lyrics, and just kind of like the general vibe of the song.
Yeah. I will mention, by the way, to listeners, like I was like looking up this music video, which I like remembered but just hadn't watched in a while. And if you go on YouTube, like I found it was like a rip from, I think, MTV2. Like there did not seem to be like an official Mest upload of this on YouTube, which I don't know. The song is, I believe, on YouTube. So I don't know why that is. So if you go on YouTube to watch the video, which you should, it's very fun. It's like the quality is a little off, but no, it's a good point. I haven't even thought about that. Just like the way it's shot, coloring, shadows, and everything. What comes to mind, and this was what was like on the tip of my tongue before, is that like, and you know, we can make all sorts of arguments on how this maybe affected their career or whatever, but like this song is kind of serious, and yes, the music video evokes the emotion of this song, but it kind of felt to me like this music video definitely was not a band that takes themselves super seriously, right?
Right.
For better or for worse. Whereas like Good Charlotte, like, yeah, they had a lot of like jokey songs, but definitely they always like took themselves seriously, I think.
That could be the reason why they never broke through the ceiling, why Mest never got to the next level.
Yeah.
That's very possible. Because I mean, you really have to, like, you really got to grind. I mean, they grinded. They did grind.
Yeah. No, they definitely grinded.
I really don't know why they never got. I mean, maybe it's just oversaturation.
I mean, even as I was like listening to like this record and Destination Unknown, because those are always like my favorites, I was like, I really was taken by how much like kind of ska reggae kind of influence there was. Not dissimilar to kind of all the hip hop influence in Good Charlotte, right? Especially in the early Good Charlotte records. So I don't know. But slightly different track. There is an acoustic of this included on Broken Down, which was Mest's acoustic album in 2014. And, you know, they've played this acoustic at APTV sessions. They've played it for Adobe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like this song translates very well acoustic.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The song itself is relatively simple, too. So, I mean, it lends itself to, you know, just make it super pretty with some, like, really nice open acoustic chords and stuff. So yeah, it works really, really well. I do find myself listening to the acoustic version, I would say, almost as often as I listen to the regular
Really?
version. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it's a song that I could figure out with my very elementary guitar skills. I could figure out. So
But that's part of what makes it like such a good song. Like it's there's no need for any of the extra shit. It's like bare bones and it's just substance. You know what I mean? Like the whole song is just like this is it. And it just slaps. It's just really good.
Yeah. Well, I want to read some reviews that talk about this song, and I had so much fun researching and pulling these together. Ultimate Guitar gave it a user score of 6.4. They gave the lyrics a score of 7, saying that Jaded had undoubtedly the best lyrics. Gave the album an overall impression of 6, and said, after listening to this album all the way through, I have to say that it's actually quite poor. Sure, there's some great songs like Jaded and Lost, Broken, Confused, but the whole album seems to use the same notes in different arrangements.
I wonder if they ever listened to any sort of punk music ever.
Have you listened to Green Day?
Right.
Have you listened to Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana?
That's very strange.
Yeah.
So, first of all, it's Ultimate Guitar. Second of all,
right.
Like it's forums. Everybody just talks shit in forums.
Yeah. Exactly.
Third of all, when was this written? Because if this was written recently, absolutely somebody's just going to tear this record to shreds. Because music has just gotten so like complicated. Like
I feel
Action Venture could never get away with writing a song as simple as this. We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because that's just not the climate now.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't really know. Depending on when this was written, that might not really be a fair thing to say.
I want to say it was closer to when the album came out, but I'm not positive. I found a fan review from Tressa the Insane. It was an Angel Fire site. She says, Mest is a Chicago-based pop-punk band. They're friends with Good Charlotte, which is how I found out about them as a bouncing pop-punker trying to figure out what other bands I might like. Okay, but like, honestly, relatable, right? I feel like that's how a lot of people found out about Mest. But as is the case with many bands who realize they're making it big, Mest went from enthusiastic garage band kids to arrogant jerks overnight. Maybe it comes from being on Madonna's record label. Specifically about this album, they gave it 6 thumbs up and said, so I said the other albums were blatant attempts at getting a giant teeny bopper fan base. Wow, I hadn't seen anything yet. Mest pulls out every possible stop to get on the radio with this one, including featuring Buddy Benji Madden of Good Charlotte on guest vocals on first single, Jaded. Tony's voice is no longer womanly. Instead, he sounds like he's trying to be John Feldman from Goldfinger. I mean, were we not just talking about how, like, maybe they were trying to be more radio friendly?
I think they were trying to be more accessible. I don't. To be fair, I've probably said I'm sure I've said shit like this about Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't really get mad, but I
kind of like some of Fall Out Boy's like I like Mania better than I liked I think any of their other stuff post hiatus, because they just kind of like fully leaned into
the
pop, yeah, and they weren't doing that like weird, we're like pretty much pop but sort of not, and I don't know, they just went for it, which I like.
The weird thing with Fall Out Boy is that like post hiatus, like I've seen them twice post hiatus, and every time I hear the new songs played live, they're like actually playing instruments and they sound really cool, and like they're not just overproduced, and like you can hear everything that they're doing, so like that's cool. But then I go and listen to the record and I'm like, man, it's just like everything is drowned out, and like it's just way overproduced for my own personal taste. So I can understand how someone going from Wasting Time or Destination Unknown to this record could feel kind of similar because the production is different. And you know, a lot of these things are things that people might subconsciously, you know, take notice of. They might not know exactly like, oh, this is overcompressed or whatever, but they could definitely like, something seems off about this and I don't really like it. So you know, I can kind of understand that. Yeah. I just think, personally, I just kind of feel like they just grew up a little bit and were trying to make a career out of this.
Yeah, which like not everyone gets to do. Like not everyone gets to make a career out of making music.
Right.
Yeah. I want to read some YouTube comments. So this was on a fan upload that had like 173,000 views. Date Massamoon said, back in high school, our English teacher asked us to compose some kind of speech or poem and recite it in class. My classmate recited these lyrics and got a decent grade.
Okay.
I mean, I could see your English teacher not like knowing that this was already a song and just accepting it as a poem you wrote. One user had asked like what it meant to be jaded, and Believe in My Daydreams said in response to them, it's like being bored or apathetic because you've seen or experienced too much. Like you can't be impressed by anything anymore. In context of the song, I think he's saying that his experiences have made him see the world in a less naive and optimistic way, but he still doesn't regret the things that happened to make him that way. He wouldn't change the past regardless of if it made him a little wiser and sadder now. Just my opinion.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
And we should have had them on the podcast today.
I know, right? I would love to. I have had, like, there's been some guests that I've had that, like, I have read comments of theirs or pulled up some, like, fan video they made. Because a lot of the GC fans go back, you know, way back. So I wouldn't be surprised if anyone whose comments I'm reading is someone who has been on the show or will be on the show in the future. Would not be surprised.
That's nuts.
Song Meanings had some very good comments. X Self-Reliance X said, it would be a good graduation song, I think. Spart, I think they meant smart. Publicity move having Benji from Good Charlotte on your first single from a new CD, if I do say so myself. Punk Ska Sucks said, when I first heard this song, I thought Jeremiah sung in it, but it was really Benji. I guess fair. I wouldn't say Benji really sounds like Jeremiah though, but
I don't think he sounds like Jeremiah, and I don't even think that the song sounds that much different than Yes Weird. I don't think that. I think it's pretty clearly Benji.
Yeah. God Must Hate Me. Actually, I need to specify that this username is stylized all lowercase God and then all caps must hate me. So I don't know if this person was a Simple Plan fan or if they were just an angsty teenager, which, I mean, those two things.
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, they're not. They're not. That is a Venn diagram that is maybe not a circle, but it's pretty close to a circle. They said, the CD is amazing, a step up on the maturity level lyrically and instrumentally, but it still rocks. I love the meaning behind this and many of their songs. I'm going to do what I want and what I feel I need to do to get where I want to go. I'm never going to be what you want me to be.
Yep.
Sugar Bunny said, I so love this song. I cried the first time I heard it. It was so sad.
I'm looking at this and like even the way that everyone is like typing is so dated.
Yeah, right?
It's insane. It's like just taking me back like real, yeah.
Songmeanings.com, like it still exists. Like you can still post and comment. It's just like it doesn't really get activity.
Yeah.
It's like we have Genius now, which is like a more formal version of something like this, you know? But I was a big fan of Song Meanings back in the day.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Because there are times I just feel like, I wonder what this is about.
Yeah.
I wonder what other people think this is about. Because I think it's about this.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, I'm going. Here I am in like a comment for with these people. I think it means this. No, I think it means that. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
The Amazon reviews are very good. Like, there's something. Jenny gave the album 5 out of 5, gave this song a 4 out of 5, and said that the song that's on the radio and getting the most attention opposed to their other singles, that she said she didn't give it a 5 out of 5 only because I'm a little sick of it maybe, but it is good. Aaron Hoyer gave it a 2 out of 5, said the record's first single, Jaded, featuring guest vocalist Benji Madden, sounds as if it was recorded just for MTV. It has that extra polished finish that shouts, I'm the hit single, and the rest of the record is just a filler. The lyrics don't help matters a bit. I'm jaded, stupid, and reckless, whines lead singer Tony Lovato. Sure thing, Tony. Just take a number and get in line with the dozens of other bands who have written a song called Jaded.
I feel like they are just upset that they're just jealous.
Yeah.
That's just such like an angsty, weird, immature comment.
Like that you so have to be like, I've written negative reviews, right? But to write something like that, you have to be in such a specifically negative headspace. Like, I don't want to say I don't get it. Like, how could you? Because, like, I get it, you know?
No, for sure. I feel like they were just maybe they were just having a bad time at that.
Yeah.
At that moment. Because they just seem like they're going through their own thing and they're just kind of projecting.
Yeah. Yeah. Last Amazon review I'll read is from Lexi Winter, who gave it 4 out of 5, and said that they enjoyed this a lot more than Destination Unknown, and said, don't look for pop hooks here. There aren't many, and it's nowhere near as catchy as the first 2 Mest CDs. Jaded is a cool song, even though Benji is in it. I won't badmouth Benji this time. He actually did a good job. So that's a particular take.
Okay. All right.
And then a lot of people were just kind of pointing out that this album is slower, more thoughtful, more serious, more introspective, as we've, kind of been discussing.
I kind of just feel like that makes sense. Like, I feel like that's what happens. I mean, especially after this was their 4th release.
Yeah.
In like 5 years. So, like, I get it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Brompton, how has Jaded held up for you over time?
Oh, I think it still pretty much holds up for what it is, Mm-hmm. I mean, like I kind of touched on earlier, like a lot of music is way more technical now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is like even pop punk that has just 4 to 7 chords in it. It's like the chords that are actually played are far more technical. Like there's a higher level of technicality in a lot of pop punk songs now.
Yeah.
And I still personally think this song, I still think it holds up. I still enjoy listening to it. I'm down for it.
Yeah. It just really struck me realizing that Tony was like 22 or something when he wrote this.
Yeah, that's nuts.
But also I definitely think back to how I was when I was 22, and I'm kind of like, okay, yeah.
I feel like I probably wasn't this good a songwriter at 22, but I probably could have pulled something out that was as dark as this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed?
So I think that they've always kind of been an important band to me. I've always been a fan. I've always liked, I'd say 85% of what they've released. I'm always pretty much down to listen to, if a new Good Charlotte record comes out, I'm probably going to enjoy it in some way. I think that over the years, I don't know if they're like still in the same upper echelon that they've been in the past, partially just because of the amount of music that I listen to. There's just so, obviously growing up and learning about new bands and, being a musician myself, and there's just so many different artists that I listen to now. But I will say that the Good Charlotte is always an artist that I always go back to, like no matter what. And they're just kind of like a cornerstone, I feel like, of my musical journey, you could say.
I like that word, cornerstone. I like that word a lot. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, they've just always kind of been there, and like I feel like they're always gonna be there. Like their old stuff will always be there.
Yeah.
Even if I, just stop really caring about their new stuff, or it's just not whatever direction they go in isn't for me. The old songs, like I still definitely get the enjoyment out of listening to them.
Well, do you have any last words about Jaded, about Good Charlotte, about Mest, about Action Adventure, or just about yourself?
I don't really necessarily have any last words. I think that this song really was kind of a precursor to where Mest went in the future. And I think that obviously some people didn't like it, some people really liked it. I would say this was by far their most successful record. Because nothing after this even held a candle to it, unfortunately. Like in terms of like critical acclaim and stuff.
Yeah.
I like their other records; they're pretty good, but they never experienced the same level of success commercially as this record, or even probably this one song. So it's pretty crazy that this was like their peak. Like this was the highlight of everything for them, and that's nuts. Good Charlotte, on the other hand, they have continued to be a pretty large band for the entirety of their career.
I could go into like a whole rabbit hole about this. I won't, because that deserves like an episode, like a full discussion. But what's very interesting about Good Charlotte is like their recent records have like gotten so much press and so much good press. Like they definitely have not fallen off in terms of like the critical love. Yeah. And it's like generally not entirely, but like generally more positive reviews over the past few years. Yeah.
I mean, they also have written some pretty decent records in the past, few years. And also sonically, the records always sound really, really good, and they're not overproduced like other people that we've spoken about today. So, that's something that, like, to me as a listener, is like really important. I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, I think that that's a really important thing to kind of keep in perspective.
Yeah.
Looking at the two bands like side by side, at one point in time, you thought, man, they have really similar trajectory. Mest is the next Good Charlotte, like they're going to blow up together. It's going to be insane. And it unfortunately just never really went that way. And it's so sad to me because I love Mest. And it just kind of sucks. But I am glad that, even as recent as last year, they released a record. So it's still going. And that's pretty awesome. And I really appreciate that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, Brompton, as we wrap up, so we do a Generation GC and Friends Spotify playlist. So I'm going to put Jaded, and then I want two things from you. Number one is what action adventure song should we put on there, knowing that Barricades is already on the playlist. So you got to give me something else. And just one recommendation of anything you're listening to lately and enjoying.
I think that the action song you should put on there is probably Club 27.
Okay.
I think that's a good one. It's pretty upbeat. actually, the music is really upbeat. The lyrics are not, but it's good juxtaposition there. So that's cool. I really enjoy that song. I love playing it. It's a good one. It's a jam, so I think that you guys should definitely put that on there. Songs that I'm listening to currently. I've been listening to a lot of metalcore recently. I listened to Spirit Box put out a song like a couple weeks ago called Circle With Me, and that just slaps. That's a really good song in my opinion. So if you're down to throw some metalcore on there,
Amazing.
I think that's a pretty good place to start.
Amazing. We'll do it. Thank you, Brompton, so much for coming on the show. As we head off, where can listeners keep up with the band on the internet?
Cool. Pretty much all of our handles are at ACTADV Band. On pretty much everything. You can find us on like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spotify. Well, Spotify is just Action Adventure. Apple Music is just Action Adventure. If you go to any of our socials, there's like a link tree in our bio.
Amazing.
All of the other links. TikTok is also at ACTADV Band. We're a little bit more selective with the TikToks that we upload. We don't always just like post like shit posting TikTok. But I mean, there's some cool stuff on there. I think there's like a drum playthrough of Adrian playing Barricades on there.
Very cool.
There's a couple other cool things on there, so definitely check that out.
Very cool. Brompton, this has been so great. I can't wait for everyone to hear this. Listeners, thank you for tuning in to episode 79 of Generation GC. This has been a bonus episode. A few days ago, on our last regular episode, we talked about counting the days from cardiology. On Wednesday, on our next regular episode, we'll be talking about a song from Youth Authority. My name is Molly Hudelson, once again, and as always, I've been your host, as well as the producer, creator, and editor of this show. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, POD, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter and Instagram. Please make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen and follow. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, rate, review. But most importantly, y'all, tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best way to keep everything going, to spread the word, and to make the Generation GC fam as big and beautiful as possible. Thanks for tuning in.